Today's topic, a high school football game out of Massachusetts ended because of racism. Now, the way the story goes down is, the head coach of the Roxbury Prep High School Wolves, Willie McGinnes, told the Washington Post that a fight between his team and the Georgetown Middle High School Royals at Massachusetts high school game was over racial slurs. According to the Post, McGinnes said he and his assistant coach reported the slurs and harassments aimed at his team by Georgetown players in the game on September 17th. McGinnes, 32, said the problem started just before halftime when one of his players told him an opponent had called him the N-word twice. McGinnes, who also serves as his school's dean of students, said he reported the incident to the head referee and one of the assistants. The referee promised to speak to the Royals, but McGinnes said he's not sure the seriousness of the situation took hold. As McGinnes players first reported being insulted with racial slurs, the coach said he told them during the halftime to respond with their pads, which is perfectly legal in the game of football. In the second half of the game, McGinnes says more of his students told him that Royals players were calling them racial slurs and comparing them to apes and monkeys. Allegedly, fans of the Royals have moved in between their bench attempting to interact with his players. When one of the assistants' coach told the fans to move back, McGinnes says the coach was called the N-word. Parents of Roxbury Wolves players attempted to form a line between the players on the bench and the crowd. In the third quarter, a fight broke out between both teams on the field. When McGinnes and the other coaches rushed to break it up, he says he heard a Royals player say the N-word. The Post notes that he allowed the game to continue for a while, but the alleged harassment from the opposing team continued, so he decided to pull his team out. As the Wolves headed towards the locker room, the head coach said he heard chants of the N-word. The Roxbury Prep Wolves were escorted out of town by Georgetown police. The Post reports that Georgetown student body is 93% white, while the Roxbury Prep student body is 97% black and Latino. Ladies and gentlemen, this is just disgusting for the referees, for the coaches on the other side of the teams, for the parents in the stands, for all of them to allow this to continue on, for this team to continue to get harassed, called whatever racial slur under the sun, and nobody got penalized, nobody got ejected, nothing. Why not just cancel the game right there? The reason being is because this is taught behavior. Let me present to you another case of something that happened similar. This is out of a high school out of Iowa. A high school football quarterback from Iowa was thrown out of his homecoming game Friday after complaining that he was allegedly called a racial slur by a member of the opposing team. During the fourth quarter of Friday night game, Earlham High School quarterback Darryl Matcham apparently ran out of bounds and was told by a player from the opposing team from Southwest Valley High School to stand down, followed by a racial slur. There was no penalty against the Southwest Valley for the alleged slur, but when Matcham used profanity while complaining about the slur to the ref, he was thrown out of the game and penalized. So if you have a situation where a referee can throw out a player who's telling him and complaining to him that he was called a racial slur, and just on the words alone, that referee can throw that player out, why not disqualify or throw out players who are using racial slurs in a high school football game? Disqualify the team, end it right there. The other team that's being harassed, you win. The other teams that's being the harasser, you lose. Go home. And that's the thing. Everybody know racism is taught. It's learned. It's not something you inherit. So when you hear all the students, the coaches allowing this to go on, the people in the stands, the parents, what does that tell you? That's a community that promotes racism. When all else fails, when you're losing. And see, here's the thing. You only act that way when you're getting your butt handed to you. You don't act that way when you're winning. See, when you're frontlining, everything's all good. But once you're getting your butts handed to you, that's when you try and find anything possible to get under the person's skin because you're not taking care of your business on the football field, on the basketball court, or whatever the case may be. And we notice this too, even on the professional level. A lot of times people feel they can say whatever they want to players because at the end of the day, they're here for our entertainment. So they feel entitled they can speak to these players however they choose to. And then for them to have to be escorted out of town by a police escort, that tells you that the police know the situation was dangerous for those players. It's sad, man. It's still 2021. And we still have to go through these situations. And then you have people saying there's no such thing as racism. Racism is only thrown around to divide us. This is proof that it's not just a word being thrown around to bring more divide between us. No. Racism does exist. See, just because you act like something doesn't exist doesn't mean it's not there. That's just a way of trying to hide and not speak about the problem. sweep it under the rug. Until we acknowledge these problems exist, then we could find a way to abolish it and do away with it. My heart goes out to them players who had to withstand such abuse, such a hard time. Who knows what it mentally did to those players? I know at the end of the day there's minors, so you can't charge them as an adult, but slap them with a hefty fine. Make those parents suffer, because at the end of the day, I gotta blame them parents for this, because they're the one who's teaching these children these habits. And those referees and coaches, definitely charge them, because they allowed this to happen. That's gonna do it for this episode. I'm Walls P. This is Matter of Opinion, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace. It's a matter of opinion.